Elon Musk is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time, sporting an inspiring list of accomplishments and overcoming massive odds as the founder, CEO, and chief engineer of SpaceX, CEO and product architect of Tesla, owner of Twitter, founder of The Boring Company, co-founder of Neuralink and OpenAI, and co-founder of Zip2 and X.com, later merging with Confinity to create what we now know today as PayPal. As of December 2022, he had an estimated net worth of $139 billion, making him the second wealthiest human being in the world. Elon Musk was born on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa, and he shares a unique ethnic makeup with his two younger siblings Kimball and Tosca, that is of Pennsylvania, Dutch, and British ancestry. He was born with Asperger's syndrome, a type of autism spectrum disorder that makes it difficult for young people to relate to others socially, and although his disorder impacted his thinking patterns and made him socially awkward, Elon has stated in the past that this disorder was one of the key elements that made studying and programming second nature to him later on in life. His mother, May Musk, was a dietitian and model born in Canada and raised in South Africa who had a passion for math. Growing up, she never dated anyone who was worse than she was in math. One of the only men she ever met who was better than her in math was Elon's father, Elon Musk. Elon is a South African electromechanical engineer, sailor, pilot, consultant, and property developer. Elon came from a fairly wealthy family. Elon's father was a city councilman for Pretoria's Progressive Party that stood against apartheid, a system of institutional racial segregation. The story of Elon's origin stems back to his grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, the father of Elon's mother, who was born in America and took his family on a journey to Africa in a single-engine airplane, where Elon was eventually born. Once his parents divorced in 1980 as a 9-year-old, Elon chose to live with his father, a decision he grew to regret, later becoming estranged from his father. Elon's mother, May Musk, has said in the past when describing her son, that Elon was an awkward, quiet boy in school who didn't have many friends. In 1981, as a 10-year-old, Elon taught himself how to program using the VIC-20 user manual. In 1983, as a 12-year-old, he programmed, developed, and sold his video game Blastar that he designed using BASIC for $500. In his youth, he attended Waterkloof House Prep and Bryanston High School as well as Pretoria Boys High School, later moving to Canada when he was 18 years old in 1989, acquiring citizenship through his Canadian-born mother, making it easier to immigrate to the US. While waiting for his application to be processed, he spent 5 months studying at the University of Pretoria. When Elon arrived in Canada, he began working odd jobs at lumber mills and farms. In 1990, as a 19-year-old, he started studying at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, where he met Justine Wilson, his future first wife. 2 years later, in 1992, at 21 years of age, he began studying at the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned a bachelor's degree in physics and a bachelor's degree in economics from the Wharton Business School. Musk would host large buy-in parties to help pay for tuition. He took on 2 Silicon Valley internships when he was 23 years old in 1994. One of the internships was with an energy storage startup that investigated electrolytic ultracapacitors for energy storage, and the second internship was with the video game developer Rocket Science Games. In 1995, at the age of 24, he began living in California and accepted a PhD program to study materials science at Stanford University, but he ended up dropping out 2 days into the program in order to join the internet boom. He immediately applied for a job at Netscape, but never got a response. Instead of getting a job, he decided to start building an online city guide software company with his younger brother Kimball. They received $28,000 in funding for their startup from their father, naming it Zip2, an online city guide that came with directions and maps, which they advertised in the newspaper. In order to build the company, they leased a small, dingy office space to live in that was barely big enough to fit one sofa, and they would shower at the local YMCA. The website would be running during the day and Elon would code it at night. In 1999, 4 years after starting the company, at the age of 28, Elon sold a Zip2 to Compaq for $307 million in cash. As the 7% equity shareholder, he received $22 million from the sale. Following this massive achievement, Elon decided to start a new company called X.com, an online direct bank offering its services by using the internet to allow users to use their emails to send payments to one another. X.com was one of the first few online banks that was federally insured. It gained 200,000 users in the first few months of operation. Although Elon was the founder of the company, the shareholders thought he was too inexperienced to be the CEO and doubted his ability to grow the company. They decided to replace him with the CEO of Intuit, Bill Harris. At the age of 29 in 2000, Elon married his girlfriend Justine Wilson, and X.com merged with Confinity because their money transfer service PayPal was more popular than X.com's service, and Elon became CEO of the merged company. However, it was not smooth sailing from there. A conflict arose between CEO Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, the founder of Confinity, because Elon preferred Microsoft software over Unix-based software, and as a result, Peter ended up resigning. However, the compounding business issues that occurred under Elon's leadership in regards to product flaws and underwhelming business growth ended up leading the board of directors to remove Elon from leadership, making Peter Thiel the CEO once again in September 2000. The company shifted their entire focus to building out the money transfer aspect of their service, which was made evident from their decision to change the name of the entire company to PayPal in 2001. But Elon wasn't only focused on growing PayPal during this year. He had recently joined a non-profit Mars Society, discussing the topic of building a chamber for plants on Mars. He traveled to Moscow in Russia in October 2001, looking to buy an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM. His goal was to use the ICBM to send greenhouse payloads into outer space. He met with two Russian companies named Kosmotros and MPO Lavokin, but they viewed Elon as nothing but a mere novice and refused to take him seriously, leaving Elon to return to America empty-handed. In 2002, when Elon was 31 years old, 2 years after the X.com merger, PayPal was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion of common stock. Elon was the largest shareholder of PayPal with nearly 12% of the shares at the time of sale, so his share of the received stock was worth approximately $176 million. This was a massive achievement and one of the positive highlights of Elon's life. However, this year would harbor some bad events for Elon as well. Elon and his wife Justine had their first baby this year, but unfortunately the baby died 10 weeks after being born due to sudden infant death syndrome, an unexplained death that happens to some seemingly healthy babies during sleep. Distraught with the loss of his first child, Elon went back to Russia in October of 2002 and attempted once again to buy a ballistic missile. However, this time, he brought Mike Griffin with him, the president of InQtel, a nonprofit venture capital firm that invests in high-tech companies to keep the CIA equipped with the most advanced technology. And this gave a young Elon Musk a little bit more credibility. Kosmotros made an offer to Elon for one rocket for $8 million, which Elon rejected. His offer wasn't good enough to build Elon's vision, so instead, Elon decided to make one of the biggest decisions of his life. As a 31-year-old, in 2002, with a net worth of $176 million, Elon started SpaceX, a spaceflight company, by investing $100 million of his own money, more than half of all the money he had to his name. Elon believed that humanity should be a multiplanetary species, and that it should start with the colonization of Mars. Elon needed an expert engineer to build his rocket, but the only qualified engineers he knew declined his offer, believing he was crazy. After some failed attempts at hiring a qualified chief engineer to build the rocket he envisioned, Elon was left with no choice but to build the rocket himself, even though he had zero experience building rockets. In 2004, when Elon was 33 years old, he invested early in a $7.5 million Series A funding round for an electric vehicle manufacturer named Tesla Motors, and became the company's chairman and product architect. This was also the same year when Elon and Justine had twins, followed by triplets just 2 years later in 2006 when Elon was 35 years old. During 2006, SpaceX attempted their first rocket launch with the Falcon 1 rocket. After 4 years of invested time and money, hopes were extremely high that Elon's first launch would be successful, but unfortunately, the launch was a failure. The rocket was destroyed before reaching orbit. However, it wasn't all bad news, because this failure caught the attention of NASA, and they awarded Elon a commercial orbital transportation services contract, giving SpaceX the cash they needed to continue trying to build rockets to reach low Earth orbit. Aside from building rockets in 2006, Elon also helped create the solar energy company Solar City, which was later acquired by Tesla, changing its name to Tesla Energy. In 2008, when Elon was 37 years old, he went through a divorce with his wife Justine, but the year would still go down as one of the best years of his life. The last 2 rocket launches for SpaceX were a disaster. 2 blown-up rockets that nearly led to company bankruptcy and personal bankruptcy for Elon, who had one last try to prevent that from happening. The 4th attempt at launching the Falcon 1 into orbit would be their last, and in 2008, at long last, SpaceX succeeded in launching the Falcon 1 into orbit. This massive success resulted in SpaceX receiving a commercial resupply services contract worth $1.6 billion from NASA. NASA wanted Elon to use his Falcon 9, the successor of the Falcon 1 rocket, and his Dragon spacecraft to supply the International Space Station. This was life-saving news for Elon, who had nearly lost everything attempting to launch the Falcon 1 again. But his success during this time period didn't end there. During the 2007-2008 financial crisis, Elon became the CEO of Tesla. Tesla's first electric vehicle was the Roadster, an electric sports car first built in 2008. The Roadster was the first mass-produced all-electric car that was engineered with the utilization of lithium-ion batteries. Tesla went public in 2010 when Elon was 39 years old. In 2012, as a 41-year-old, Elon began delivering the Model S, a 4-door electric sedan. His SpaceX triumphs continued to gain momentum in tandem with his Tesla achievements, because in 2012 the Dragon spacecraft became the first commercial spacecraft to dock with the International Space Station in human history. This was also the first year Elon was listed on the Forbes billionaires list with a net worth of $2 billion. And on a more personal note, he signed the Giving Pledge in 2012, pledging to eventually donate the majority of his wealth to charitable causes. By 2013, when Elon was 42 years old, Solar City became the second largest provider of solar energy in the United States. Combating climate change has always been one of Elon's main priorities. In conjunction with his renewable energy companies, Elon in the past has also made strides in politics to advocate for the carbon tax as a means of discouraging the use of fossil fuel energy. He believes that climate change is one of the greatest existential threats to humanity, along with artificial intelligence and the declining birth rate, which would cause population collapse. As a 42-year-old, Elon also assembled a team of Tesla and SpaceX engineers to build a vacuum tube train which he called the Hyperloop, that would act as a high-speed train from Los Angeles to San Francisco. Elon hoped that the Hyperloop would make the public rethink high-speed trains and inspire people to consider more creative ideas for high-speed travel. In 2015, when Elon was 44 years old, he made achievements with Tesla by launching the Model X, but his achievements with SpaceX would go down in history, as he had succeeded in doing the impossible. The Falcon 9 rocket finally achieved reusability, being launched into space and being brought back to Earth by landing it on an inland platform, achieving the once believed to be impossible idea of engineering a reusable rocket. SpaceX also began developing and making huge investments in another one of Elon's companies, Starlink. The idea behind Starlink was to send satellites into low Earth orbit as a means of providing humanity with internet access. This decade-long venture to use satellites to provide the Earth with internet access was estimated to cost $10 billion. In 2015, he also co-founded a non-profit artificial intelligence research company named OpenAI, with the goal being to create artificial intelligence systems for the benefit of humanity. This would also end up being one of Elon's greatest decisions, as OpenAI later went on to create one of the most advanced modern-day AI systems known as ChatGPT. Elon has repeatedly expressed his concern over the dangers of artificial intelligence. He believes that emphasizing the needs of future populations is one of the greatest responsibilities of our generation. He has also suggested in the past that there should be government regulatory bodies put in place specifically to regulate the creation of artificial intelligence. His efforts to show governments the dangers of AI have fallen short, and he has stated that he believes that governments are moving too slowly to regulate AI, which has been growing exponentially. In 2016, when Elon was 45 years old, Tesla acquired Solar City for $2 billion and renamed it Tesla Energy. This led to a 10% drop in Tesla's share price. Shareholders at the time were heavily concerned, accusing Elon of making this decision solely to benefit himself, with complete disregard to the impact it would have on Tesla's shareholders. Elon was sued by multiple shareholder groups, and years later, all of Tesla's directors settled and dropped out of the case, leaving Elon as the one and only remaining defendant. Fortunately for Elon, a few years later, the court ruled in his favor. In 2016, he also co-founded Neuralink, a neurotechnology company developing brain-computer interfaces. Elon's plan for Neuralink is to build devices that can integrate artificial intelligence into the human brain, and to build interesting technologies that would treat neurological conditions like dementia, Alzheimer's, and spinal cord injuries. In 2017, when he was 46 years old, he founded the Boring Company, a tunnel construction company, whose initial purpose was to help alleviate LA traffic by digging tunnels in LA. He also released the Tesla Model 3 during this year, a mass-market electric sedan, which would eventually go on to become one of their best-selling vehicles. This was also the year when Elon initially expressed interest in buying the social media platform Twitter. His reasoning was to create a platform that embraced every user's First Amendment right to freedom of speech and allowed them to speak their mind without censorship. This mindset comes through in Elon's leadership style for all of his companies. Although he has been described as a micromanager who closely observes his companies, he has also been known to offer rewards to employees who offer constructive criticism. His insistence on vertical integration against his advisors' suggestions and bringing the manufacturing of all of his products in-house for all of his companies has led to saved costs for Tesla and SpaceX. Although Elon encourages his employees to be vocal, he also is known to be very demanding of his employees, requiring them to sometimes work 80-hour weeks, with repercussions for not doing so being mass firings and layoffs. This leadership style has been praised by some for being efficient and allowing Musk to cut through the weakness and laziness of his companies, with other critics saying that it lacks human empathy and understanding. In 2018, at the age of 47, Elon launched the Falcon Heavy rocket into outer space, sending his own personal Tesla Roadster into orbit as a dummy payload. It was during this year that SpaceX launched their first 2 Starlink satellites into orbit as well. In 2019, when Elon was 48 years old, Starlink sent their first large set of 60 test satellites into low orbit, and SpaceX began building one of their latest rockets called Starship, a completely reusable heavy-launch spacecraft. Tesla also revealed one of their newest upcoming electric vehicles they called the Cybertruck, an all-electric pickup truck. By this point, Elon officially claimed the record for the longest tenured CEO of an automotive manufacturer anywhere in the world. In 2020, when Elon was 49 years old, his girlfriend Grimes, a Canadian musician, gave birth to their son, who they named Ash. 2020 marked a historic moment for SpaceX because they succeeded in launching human astronauts into space with their Demo 2 rocket, making them the very first private space company to send astronauts into orbit and dock them to the International Space Station. This was also the same year that Tesla launched the Model Y, their fifth electric vehicle. Tesla's stock skyrocketed during the summer of 2020, making it the most valuable car manufacturer in the world. At the start of the year, Elon's net worth was about $27 billion, but by the end of 2020, his net worth was $150 billion. In 2021, when Elon was 50 years old, Tesla became the sixth company in history to reach a market capitalization of $1 trillion. And Elon Musk became richer than Jeff Bezos with a net worth of $185 billion, making him the wealthiest man in the world. This was the same year the Model 3 became the best-selling electric vehicle in the entire world and became the first electric car to reach 1 million units sold globally. That November, Elon became the first individual to reach a net worth of $300 billion. This was also the same year his girlfriend Grimes gave birth to their daughter, Exa Dark. In 2022, when Elon was 51 years old, Tesla unveiled one of their next upcoming products they called Optimus, a humanoid robot. Elon would also begin buying shares of Twitter, eventually owning 9% of the company's equity by April of that year, making him Twitter's largest shareholder. The revelation of this news led to the largest share price surge Twitter had experienced since they went public in 2013. On April 13th, Elon made a $43 billion offer to buy Twitter outright. By the end of April, with $12.5 billion of loans against his Tesla stock and $21 billion of equity financing, Elon's bid for Twitter was concluded for $44 billion. In July, reports arose revealing that Elon had twins with the director of operations for Neuralink, Siobhan Zilis. Apparently, she had given birth to children in November 2021, weeks before Grimes and Elon's second child. In October of 2022, Elon's acquisition of Twitter was completed. This led to massive changes, including the firing of Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal, an $8 monthly subscription for account verification, and massive company layoffs of employees. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Elon responded to the devastation by sending Starlink terminals to Ukraine to provide them with internet access, donating 20,000 terminals to the war-torn country with free data subscription, costing SpaceX $80 million. Elon made a public statement that SpaceX would continue providing Ukraine with Starlink for free at an annual cost to SpaceX of $400 million a year. As of June 2023, Elon Musk was quoted to be the wealthiest man in the world, with a net worth of $234 billion.